educate, advocate, and collaborate in support of stronger nonprofits. So really quick, we are a membership-based organization. We do have over 700 different nonprofit members across the state, and then we have about 70 different business affiliates. Our nonprofit members really range from any kind of small all-volunteer up to the big WCA, larger organizations. We definitely have different programs and offerings for kind of each tailored organization, but there are over 7,000 nonprofits in the state, so we're happy to be partnering with these 700. Our business affiliates are really nonprofit friendly companies that want to show the support for the nonprofit sector, and then a lot of them too have different offerings, discounts, partnership opportunities to where they can support the sector. So we have some CRMs that are on there. We have some insurance companies, some banks, everything like that, all the way down to consultants that will help with grant writing, with strategic planning, with fundraising, capital campaigns, anything like that. And on our website, we do have a list of both of these groups of members. So back to what we do, we have the 3 different buckets of educate, advocate, collaborate, and I'll go through those right now. So educate, we put on different educational programs and series really geared towards the nonprofit sector, both of its executive level leadership team, all the way down to maybe support level staff, and then also a lot of board member trainings as well. So our regional forums here is a conference that we do in March where we travel the state and have kind of mini one-day conferences. Of course, previously we were physically traveling and going to Twin Falls and Pocatello, et cetera, and seeing people in person. So we're hoping to be able to do something of that formation again this March. Our board member bootcamp and our board chair bootcamp are both part of our board training programs. The board member program is about a 2-hour-long training that really walks through for every board member, whether you've been on it for years or you're kind of interested in serving as a board member, the roles and responsibilities and how that individual can best serve their organization and best work with the executive director and the organization staff. Board Chair Bootcamp is a really more intensive program specifically geared towards the board chair and then the executive director on how those 2 roles can best serve the organization. We have our nonprofit statewide conference that is a 3-day conference in the fall. We just had it in September. That really is an intensive 3-day conference that goes through keynotes. We have different webinars. We have different board training, fundraising, grant writing, marketing, really all of those different kind of educational programs we list at our conference. Idaho Philanthropy Day is in November, and it is a celebration of our state as a whole and the philanthropic work in each community. So we have different awards that we give out for different categories, but it's really a great time to kind of just step back and highlight the work that's being done. And many of the people, individuals, nonprofits that aren't up there kind of highlighting or in the limelight, it's a great opportunity to say thank you for the work that they do. And then lastly, Idaho Gives, which is our statewide giving program. Typically, it's been a 1-day program, but the past 2 years we have extended this. But essentially, it's our opportunity here at the Idaho Nonprofit Center to say, hey, the nonprofit sector is here. It's in need of support. Here's over 600 different nonprofits that you can give to. Go out on this campaign and donate to your favorite nonprofit. Our advocate. So Idaho Gives is a little bit of kind of an advocacy piece for us as well, really kind of highlighting the sector as a whole. But we do have a policy committee here at INC that has an annual policy agenda, but it really kind of watches what is coming out on a state level. And then we publicize those offerings in our newsletter or our legislative watch that that email listing is called. But it's really just to let you guys know about the different impacts that could have on the nonprofit sector, how to speak up and talk to your local representation if there's something that your organization is advocating for that needs to have their voice heard. But we're really just trying to make sure that the nonprofit sector has a voice at the table when people are making decisions at a state level. And then lastly, we do a couple of different research projects on behalf of the sector as well. So these research projects fit into a couple of different buckets. One is our state of the sector, another is our economic impact, and then lastly is our compensation report. Our compensation report really kind of highlights the sector as a whole. It's a great tool for organizations that are looking to hire, wanting to retain staff, making sure they have competitive wages. We actually just got done coordinating our most recent compensation report, collecting all that data, and then we're working to compile it so that our members can access it and utilize that information. But I wanted to highlight a couple of things that we have in both our state of the sector and our economic impact report, so you guys can kind of see when we're out there advocating some of the things that we're highlighting in the community. So first is that there are 12.3 million number of people employed by the nonprofit sector nationwide. So when we're out there talking to local officials, this is definitely something that we want to say, hey, yes, nonprofit is in our term. You know, we don't necessarily believe that the term nonprofit means not to make a profit, but look at how impactful it is on our community. Look at how many people are employed. Look at how much compensation it's bringing into our states. So that makes up about 8% of the US workforce. So kind of looking into some Idaho specific information. There are over 7,600 nonprofits in the state of Idaho, which employs almost 65,000 Idahoans, which equates into about 4.25 billion in total compensation. Here's kind of a breakdown of that sector and those that are employed. A large majority of them are hospitals, but some of them are human services, education, religion organizations, environment, etc. So that was kind of our advocacy side of things. And then lastly, collaborate. So we definitely try to lead by example when it comes to our collaboration side of things. We do get approached pretty frequently of individuals saying, hey, I want to start a new nonprofit. You know, I want to do a food bank here in Boise. And we say, that's awesome. That's a great mission. But why don't you go and look at the other organizations that are maybe already fulfilling that hole, the other organizations that already have food banks that maybe need more volunteers, or they need more program level staff, or they need more board members. Really try to collaborate with those around you, opposed to making it more of a competitive scene. So with that, we do that through all of these partners. And these are basically other entities that are out in our state doing similar work, but we've kind of chosen to align ourselves with them to create a larger impact. A good example of that is Serve Idaho these past 2 years. They previously had their own conference that they hosted specifically about volunteerism. And then they had their own award ceremony that they hosted specifically towards volunteers. So we said, instead of having our own conference and our own award ceremony, why don't we team up together? They can announce their awards at our award ceremony. They can have a track all about volunteerism at our conference, ways that we can kind of have a larger collective impact. And then lastly, I'll kind of wrap it up and open it up for questions, but just ways that we all can support. I know you all are very busy nonprofit professionals doing great work in our state, but a couple ways is just subscribing to our email list. Keep an eye out for the policy work that we do. Keep an eye out for the different offerings, cost saving programs, things like that that we have. We'd also love for anyone to join us as a member. All of our members get listed on our website. They have the opportunity to be highlighted in our email and social media. They get discounts on all of those programs that I was talking about: conference, Idaho Gives, regional conference, all of the different educational programs, and many more other benefits. We'd love for everybody to participate in Idaho Gives, whether you're a donor or a nonprofit, but really kind of uplifting the sector as a whole during this campaign and encouraging everyone to donate to their favorite nonprofit. And then, of course, we'd love to see you at any of our programs or events. I'll drop the link into the chat of our website, but we have a calendar of all of our upcoming programs and different things that we're doing. And then lastly, of course, you guys are doing it, but just spreading the word about the sector as a whole. I think that there's still so much more opportunity for educating our communities about the impacts of our sector. I think a lot of folks don't know how many different organizations are touching their lives and improving the quality of life in the areas that they live. So just kind of making sure that the sector is being heard and that people out there in our communities are aware of how strong and impactful the work that we do is. So that was kind of a quick spiel of all of my kind of topics about the nonprofit sector and the Idaho Nonprofit Center. But I'd love to kind of open it up to you guys to hear from you, whether there's something that here at the Idaho Nonprofit Center we could help you guys with, or if you have any questions about the work that we do.
Awesome, thanks, Evan. So I do know that we have Community Coalitions of Idaho has been a member for a few years now, and we did take you guys up on the opportunity to, I think it was, why is the word escaping me? Steal your guys' social media. Why is the term escaping me? You guys had that, I think it was during November.
Yeah, we did a November nonprofit awareness, like social media campaign, where different members of ours took it over for a day and kind of highlighted the work that they do.
Social media takeover, that's what it was.
Yeah,
and that was actually really helpful, and it got us in front of people, got our content in front of people who may not have seen it before. So
awesome.
And there are some good things that we need to take advantage of that we have not yet. So, but does anybody have any questions for the Idaho Nonprofit Center? Okay, if you do, and you don't want to say them out loud, you can put them in the chat. I don't know how long Evan's going to hang out with us, but if she takes off, we will throw any questions in an email to her so that we make sure she gets that. But I really appreciate her coming in and giving us that brief update. That was good.
Of course, yeah, I'll stay on until about 11:30 and then I'll pop off. But yeah, feel free to email me, and I also put our website into the chat as well. But thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Awesome. So as Sharon was starting to say, you're muted, Sharon, so just want to let you know. We do have, next on the agenda is we have an open position that, like we talked about last meeting on our board. Sharon did step up into the chair position, as was the wish of the coalition, because of Charlene's vacancy. So we have a board position open as vice chair, and at this time we would love to see if no one sent us anything ahead of time, so you guys are totally surprising us, but if there are any nominations, self or you're nominating somebody else for the position of vice chair of the coalition for the board.
Quick question, are both of these to fill out until the next, they fill in until the next voting, right?
Right.
Yeah, this would be,
Yeah, for the next end of the year.
yeah, this one's going to be until because it was just re-elected, so it'll be June 30th of 2023.
Oh, it goes that long?
Well, it depends.
Oh wait, oh yeah.
Because
Next
we are going to propose a few changes in the bylaws to the elections, so it may not be that long. So if you're interested at all, at least think until next.
Until we update the bylaws.
Until spring, how about that?
Is the one.
So don't let that scare you away.
I have a nomination.
Okay.
Can I go ahead and nominate somebody?
Yes.
I'd like to nominate Rose Cheff for the position.
Do you accept that nomination, Rose?
I do.
Okay.
I would also like to nominate Sylvia Ryan.
She's already the secretary.
Oh, yeah, I
You
know.
want-
She would have to change if she did that.
Is that something you're up for, Sylvia?
I don't know at this time. I'm in the middle of starting a business, so I'm kind of like trying to be careful right now. So if I could just hold off.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
Any other nominations? Self or somebody else? That's a lot of dead air.
So is this being voted on today, or is this just up for consideration right now?
We need to, Sharon, correct me if I'm wrong, but the plan was to move on it today, vote on it today, correct?
You know, we're hoping to, unless somebody has another reason. If you feel like you need more time, we can extend it. But if you want to, if you don't have a reason, we can vote on it today.
So I think we'd be looking for is either more nominations or a motion on the one nomination that we do have.
Okay, people.
Thank you, Kendall.
You're welcome. So with having only a single nomination, I make a motion to approve Rose Cheff as the next, what is this, vice chair.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
All right. Any discussion? Yeah, that's probably not going to happen, right, Sharon?
You're
All
a
right.
quiet bunch.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Good. I like
Aye.
the thumbs up. Yes, I'll take thumbs up in lieu of an aye. So those of you who don't want to unmute, I'd love the thumbs up. Good job. Thank you, Tara. All right. Congratulations, Rose. You're back on the board again.
May I ask who the second was for the minutes?
I think that was Susie.
Yeah, it was Susie Hertz from the Elks. Yeah.
Yes, that was me.
Thank you.
And I just want to add to Rose, thank you for accepting that nomination. I declined one, but I appreciate all the people that make time in their busy schedules to make this statewide coalition run. I know it's hard and I feel it's an ongoing struggle, more so sometimes than the local coalitions. So I really appreciate everybody that steps up and stretches their time and limits even further.
You want to say anything, Rose, before we move on?
Well, I think Sharon's my neighbor, just down the road, but I really think that CCI is going to be taking more of a leadership role within the state. And I'm excited to continue to be a part of what we're doing. I think we, like Sharon said, we're going to rework the bylaws and stuff. I think we need to get up to speed and start doing prevention in a new and more aggressive way. So I'm glad to still be around, even though I'm semi-retired.
Well, thank you, Rose. And thank you, everybody, for helping us keep this moving forward. Like, I agree with Kendall. Okay, next is Jim. He's going to go over some data and what we've CCI's kind of been doing over the last year, since this is, I'm not sure if you guys are aware or not, but this is the beginning of the next fiscal year for those of us who are DFC. So those of you who are not DFC funded or on a different calendar schedule, because I know we're not all exactly on the same one. This is CCI's start of the fiscal year. So Jim, are you there?
I am. Did you need to cover bylaws? It was just on the agenda. I didn't know if we skipped over the bylaws.
I don't have.
You know, we were just going to do that during internal organization subcommittee. Does that sound right?
Yep.
Does that sound right, David?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I'll give you a brief overview just of some accomplishments. I just kind of wanted to point out some high points. I know last time in our meeting, I gave a quarterly report of what CCI kind of did in this last quarter, which really kind of covered the last year too, because I think CCI has been doing some great things here. I can turn my video on. I'm just in that. So, and I'm the only one that dresses up for these things by wearing a shirt and tie because I think they're very important. So, Marco, you need to start dressing for these. So for this last grant cycle, and just to kind of give you a little bit of background, I remember going with Ashley when Ashley was the executive director to Dallas, Texas, to the CADCA trainings. And my first question, and I'll be honest, I'm pretty straightforward with these things and not biased, but my first thing was, how did CCI ever get a DFC grant with just the way that the mission and the vision was? And I had to really wrap my head around it. And I spent about a year just kind of understand where they were and where they needed to be and where they needed to go, and kind of done the best job as I possibly could to provide that research and that background. And in that training, it was very interesting. The DFC action plan, for those that haven't looked at the DFC, really has two goals, and that is community collaboration and prevention work within certain substances. And I was wondering how much that was going to duplicate, especially with the second one, within coalitions, until we really looked and developed a collaboration with the different coalitions. And that's the success that I think CCI heading forward is supporting each one of these coalitions to make sure that there's a connection between your partners and your what you're doing for your interventions on a daily basis, because each one of these coalitions are doing some amazing things. CCI is trying to highlight those and make sure that they're supporting them as much as possible. The challenge, I think, is that there was a lack of, and this is coming back from the data, there was a lack of understanding, and I think really support for CCI and what its mission was and what the relationship was between the different coalitions and CCI. And there has been phenomenal trainings over the last year within 2020 and 2021. I think David and Chloe have done a really good job statistically speaking on making sure that there's a connection between the coalitions and the partners, and also redoing what their purpose was. And I think we've had some good trainings in the last couple conferences on those, which I've reported on those in the past. This is our third round of doing a coalition survey to gather how many coalitions there are and prevention entities out in the state, and then making sure that those coalitions heading forward are collaborating on if they have good interventions and good programs that they can share those, and then what those struggles are that CCI can provide trainings for. This last year, we noticed that there was a number of coalitions reporting that they were struggling with connecting their mission statement with their goals and objectives and what they needed to accomplish. And we did trainings on that. We did trainings on keeping up with different drug trends and what we need to do moving forward. And I think COVID kind of derailed that because we couldn't meet in person as much, but and a lot of us are zoomed out, but connecting the action plan with the specific goals and objectives of what CCI is doing. I think we had to derail a little bit to talk about that purpose, which we did. And now we're getting back on track on making sure that we're connecting partners and building more partnerships up with it. I know David has been visiting with a lot of partners. Probably our biggest one is working with the Office of Drug Policy, making sure that we get the right data out there to the coalitions. And I think the biggest one moving forward is needs assessment, is making sure that each of the coalitions have the data to do their needs assessment to show their gaps so that they can do their programming, and then also work with their stakeholders and their coalition members to say, hey, this is what we're struggling with as a community. You've also got some good leaders. I think you're getting some very supportive boards members. There's a lot of positives, I think, heading into this new year cycle. The coalition survey that I think Chloe was sent out, correct? I would encourage everybody to fill that out and really fill it out on what you're struggling with, but also what you're doing well. I think we have anywhere between 9 and 11 different coalitions that are forming out there, but we also need to see what our gaps are in communities that need it and where we can expand and where we can strengthen. Some have faltered, meaning we haven't had as many meetings. There's a couple coalitions out there in the state that aren't meeting as regularly, and we need to see what we can do to help support those. And I think CCI is that entity. Last but not least, I don't want to bore you with a bunch of stats because most of you, I've been teaching for 13 years. I can read body language enough that nobody really wants to go through stats right now, but I'm gonna probably echo what Rose said, and you've got some good leaders. I think David and Chloe see the vision of where CCI needs to be for the state, and I think they're taking good steps to take CCI into meeting the vision, and that is really to prevent drug and substance abuse among youth within the state of Idaho, and not just talk about it, but really to end a lot of different problems that I think people are struggling with, especially with families. And that starts with helping to support the coalitions within the communities. So that's my attaboys and my report for this last year, that there's a lot of positives I don't think that really got pointed out, especially when it came to reformulating and putting a firm foundation in CCI and what its purpose is and why it's important, I think, within the state. So I'll end with that. So any questions for me on anything? I just kind of gave you the fundamental pieces of what really they've been doing this last year.
Does anybody have any questions for Jim on what we've been doing the last year or the data?
I just want to comment that I appreciate all your work on this, Jim. I know it's not easy, and you know, CCI has been through a lot of transitions over the last, I don't know, since we've all been in cohort 1, at least those of us that have been in cohort 1. And it's not an easy job when your region is the whole state. So I like that, how you just bring that together for us. And it's a good reminder that really we do need to support smaller coalitions that are really struggling, because the processes are not always easy.
Yeah, it's been tough. It's been a transition, and I've seen that transition since I've been here 3. And my job's not to be in the forefront. My job is to help support David and Chloe, and I meet with them on a regular basis, and I see what they do behind scenes, and I appreciate what you say, Sylvia, because I think they don't get enough credit for what they're really doing behind the scenes, and they are doing a dang good job. And I'll tell you honestly, without getting emotional, I get emotional quite a bit. I think I get that from my mother, but these are good friends, and I've seen them take some lumps for things that I don't think they deserve, and I would just really ask for more support for these 2 individuals, that they're trying to not do it to build themselves up, but they're doing it in a way to build an organization that helps to support you as a coalition. And I guarantee you, I've been in prevention work long enough to know that we need all the help we can get. And it is tough as a prevention specialist, which I'm looking at all of you in that way, because we get a lot of rocks thrown at us, but and we have to deal with a lot of stress because we take a lot on us to help prevent. Well, I'm going to get down to the basics. We're here to save lives. And we really do need as much as I help. And I know these 2 individuals and their integrity and their honesty, and they're good friends. And I know what they're doing is good stuff, but I also have a relationship with them that I'll call them on their crap. And I'll say, you know what, I don't think that we should be doing this, or I think we should be doing that because it's not helping within the action plan and mission statement. And I've got a good enough relationship with them that we can go back and forth. But so I appreciate your words towards them. So,
yeah,
I'm very protective of these 2, but I'm the one that can call them on their crap. It's like my own kids. I can call them. Don't talk about my kids, but I can talk about my kids. So.
Yeah. Well, one thing I've learned too with this type of work, or if you're doing any kind of projects, you know, there's this thing about the magic year 3. It takes time to shift and change a culture. And we think of that in prevention as the communities we work in, but it also takes time within our coalitions. If you want to shift the culture in your coalition, you've got to give it time. And it seems like I had a really wise friend told me years ago when I was learning how to do some grant writing. She said, keep trying. She goes, year 3, you're going to see a change in the grant writing, or it was a project I was working on at the time. Well, the project ended up running for 8 years, and the 3rd year it was like magic. It's like something shifted, and if we can all just hang in there, and it'll happen. But it just takes time, and we have to be relational during that time. So those are my 2 cents worth.
That's good. That's good stuff. And we have to be careful. And just my parting note is, I fully agree with what you said. The parting piece is we have to be careful that we don't silo ourselves. We silo ourselves in our communities. Sometimes we end up we're just stuck there. And I want to make sure that we're kind of spreading those roots out for these prevention trees, so to speak, that we really are connecting with other communities and other partners, and we're building these communities up as a coalition and building individuals up, because when we try to pile it on our backs, this is where I see burnout, and this is where I see people become frustrated. And it's been an honor to see and work and visit with a lot of you in here and seeing what you're doing in your communities. And I think CCI is trying to highlight those and make sure that they do. So let them know what you need. And sometimes we don't know what we need. We just kind of have to be told things. So, but yeah, I'll end with that, and I'll turn the time back over to David. So.
Thank you guys, and really appreciate today Rose stepping up to fill that vacancy. It helps Chloe and I when we have consistent people with a buy-in to continue to do the work. So the next thing we have on our agenda is the subcommittee reports. And Sharon, since your subcommittee has a heavy load, I was wondering if we could do the workforce development committee, because I know Rebecca's, is she still here? Yeah, she is right next to me. She would give a report and then kind of talk about whether that committee, if anyone's interested in taking up that committee, or if that committee is just going to fall down to me and Chloe to keep doing the work. So go ahead. So the floor is yours, Rebecca.
Thanks, David. Yeah, good morning, everybody. Don't have any huge updates in terms of the work itself, but as David mentioned, there's some slots opening. I've actually decided as well to step down from the workforce development subcommittee, which I really enjoyed doing, and I hope somebody would be happy to take that spot. I'll just sort of tell you what when I say we, I mean Charlene and I have been doing since this committee came into fruition last year. Basically, we've been working with community partners throughout the state, and we try to schedule a mini training for each meeting, which you all have attended. Evan was a great example of that today. We have been scheduling people to do a little bit more in-depth monthly webinar. Again, some sort of prevention organization. We've done grant writing, things like that. And then we also try to leverage our relationships with local coalitions to sort of see what's going on around the state. So for example, Sylvia gave her update in August, and then we had Sharon give hers last month. And this month we have Lapway on the schedule, it looks like. So I'm probably overly organized to a fault. I will say that. We have a calendar and a monthly planning thing all developed and color-coded. And it's shared between myself and David and Chloe. So we're able to communicate to each other through this Google Drive on sort of notes of what's happening, who's being scheduled for what. And then there's also an actual calendar that has all of those things laid out as well. So Chloe can send out any invitations for webinars. So it's a pretty streamlined process we've sort of figured out. The other sort of big task that we take care of each month are those monthly updates. Admittedly, I don't know that those forms have been going as well as we had hoped they would. So I think that might need a little bit of a redesign in submitting those monthly updates from the regional coordinators. Right now, they're just a Google form, but perhaps somebody who takes over this subcommittee could come up with a little bit more streamlined process that's not quite as confusing. That's pretty much it. That's sort of what we do in a nutshell. And hopefully somebody would be happy to take it over.
And I will add, I'm sure Chloe would agree with this, is it has been very helpful having someone seeking out these opportunities, because all we have to do is basically, it's almost like being a salesperson. Someone handed you a bunch of hot leads and you just go in and close the deal. So what Chloe and I do is we have Zoom conversations with these already hand selected people, which I have thought they're all great. The one coming up for this month is Shelby's Rules, and after Chloe and I got off that Zoom, we were super excited that it was going to follow what is happening in our conference this week, because it's just a perfect piggyback off of what Chloe and I had set up for the conference. So it really shows that there's a cohesiveness to it, and it makes it a lot easier on staff, because if we have to hunt them down and then schedule them and everything, it's a lot more work. So you guys are helping the staff get things done more efficiently. So if anybody is interested, you can speak now, or you can send us an email later. We are pretty well planned out end of the year-ish, so there's not a big hurry, but I would love to know if anybody is interested to either speak now or like I said, let us know in the next coming month before the next meeting. So maybe hopefully we can have this filled by the November meeting.
David, I'm happy to, if somebody steps in, happy to go through the calendar and all of that with them, just to sort of show the process that's in place, if that's helpful. I would definitely suggest somebody who is already working with lots of people in their community and has lots of connections, because you can maybe even just tag that into your own work and and add this as a separate thing. So it doesn't make it's not like a lot of extra work. It's just sort of what you're already doing and just asking people if they'll help present and things like that.
Awesome. Okay, well, I don't see Daphne on, so I don't think that the networking and membership communications subcommittee will have a report, because I don't have anything. You didn't hear anything, Chloe, right? From them?
No, I haven't. My only thing is after this conference, looking at doing a newsletter type format. I know there's been some interest in that in the past, and we're hoping that once we create that and kind of put those hours into creating a newsletter, however often we decide to do that, that will get people that engage with it as much as our other forms of communication. So we're going to look at doing a newsletter just because of all of your feedback, but that's the only thing that I can really think of for that subcommittee.
Okay, so and if anybody is interested in the development of the newsletter, let us know either now or later on. So checking those two boxes, Sharon, would you like to give the report for your committee and talk about what we'd like to start doing today?
Sure. Do you want the legislative committee to go before me as well?
Oh, wow.
Should we do that first and leave this for the end?
Kendall, do we have an update for, I think it's kind of the same as last month, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't have anything further to add this month. The last update was at the last meeting last September, sorry. And the thank you letters were sent out to the legislators, but I don't have any further action that I've taken.
Sorry, I did not skip you on purpose, Kendall. I am so sorry.
No worries.
Thank you for catching that, Sharon.
No, that's fine. This other one's going to take a minute. And I know that every time someone says bylaws, everyone starts yawning. So please just stay tuned and listen to some of the changes that we have. The reason that it is needing, the bylaws are needing updated is the bylaws were created before we had the DFC. And it was basically driven by directors. And as anyone that's gone through the DFC process knows that it is actually the whole coalition makes the decisions and has a coalition process instead. So that's why we've updated. when we began our local bylaws, we asked a woman named Laurel York Odell, and I know that some of you are familiar with her, but she works with nonprofits and helping them get up and going. And her biggest recommendation on bylaws is to keep them simple. And you don't have to have a lot of legal jargon, but they should be readable. And so we tried to combine the policies and procedures and bylaws into one document. So with that, if you don't mind, I'll just start going through and we'll talk about some of the changes. If Chloe, would you mind pulling that up on the screen for us? The bylaws.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I got a lot of things open, just taking the minutes and everything. One moment.
Yeah, Chloe does a lot behind the scenes that you guys don't know about. She's doing like 12 things at once. So.
Can you see that?
Especially during these meetings. Yes.
Okay.
All right. The only thing that we need to plug in here is the logo. The mission is the same. If you don't mind scrolling up just a little bit, Chloe. We did talk at first about the mission. Maybe go down to the purpose if you don't mind. There you go. Perfect. Okay, that's perfect. We cleaned it up. We had some suggestions after our last meeting about cleaning up the mission statement. So we've cleaned it up a bit. We've used some of the verbiage from the DFC grant itself. So anyway, that's what the cleaned up version looks like. The geographic area, of course, is all of the state of Idaho. Okay, let's go on to membership because this is probably the area that in researching these, I have pulled up a lot of, I should say several bylaws from other DFC coalitions. And of course, the idea of membership is that we have partners and active partners all over the state, and that we have all kinds of partners, from health partners, mental health. It's what makes us strong, and it's what they need as well for their organizations to know what's happening in the small communities. So it's really important that we realize that all of these memberships that we are talking about are needed. We do have the active members. They represent people that have coalitions in communities, and also sector representatives are what you categorize as active members. The supporting members are all of you wonderful people that are on here that don't have coalitions but have organizations and that support substance abuse and nonprofits, and we couldn't operate without you. You're also members. It's just a different level of membership. And extended members are specialists that come in from time to time when we have a certain project and help us out, and they're still part of our group even though we only see them from time to time. Okay, if you can scroll down just a bit. The voting membership consists of active members or people that are they're eligible to vote if they're working with a coalition within the state, and also if they are a designated sector member with the DFC grant, that makes them eligible to vote. So it's something I think that we could really develop over the next year or two, is really choosing some statewide sector members that might represent organizations that would really enrich our group. Okay, let's go ahead and scroll down just a little bit. The organizational structure, this is, I just didn't want this to confuse you because we wanted to have bylaws that would exist beyond 2 more years or whenever the DFC grant might end. So we have a couple of provisions in here. If the grant ended and we weren't able to fund a director and coordinator, we have executive director in here that could, oh, thanks, Chloe. that could fill that position in time. Right now that's not necessary, but it's in the bylaws just in case it is needed. Okay, let's just go ahead and go down, scroll up a little bit more. Those are basic: treasurer, secretary, executive. Elections will take place in the spring of the year. Now, this is something that you guys need to talk about and write in your notes. Most of the other coalitions that I was checking on actually have a once a year policy. They have an option if they want to stay on a second year. If we want to take that on, that it would be one change. So elections would be every year in the spring. If a chairman wanted to stay on a second year or any other position a second year, they're welcome to stay on. But they usually take it 1 year at a time. If you guys don't like that, we don't have to put that, write that down on your notes, but it's just something to think about. The staff, and this is if we have a grant that funds staff, this basically is the director, the coordinator. If you could scroll up just a little bit more, it just kind of gives their job descriptions. And I think we can go to the next page. And also the contract labor, if we have money for contract labor, it shows some of the main positions: the evaluator, the marketing and design contractor, which we are still trying to fill that position this time, or other kind of contract labor. Employee vacancies should be filed statewide for a minimum of a couple of weeks before those decisions are made. So anyway, just in the future, we can find places to post those jobs. The subcommittees. The subcommittees right now, we have 4 subcommittees, and after we went through our strategic planning, these are the 4 that met the needs that we identified during our strategic planning meeting. But at any time we can change those committees. If one is no longer needed, we can replace it with other things. I just threw in I threw in a few committees that I saw on other DFC bylaws: steering committee, youth coalition, outreach, substances. So if we want to tweak those as we go, or if in our strategic plan we find the need to change those up, there is room for those changes in subcommittees. Also, the regional representatives, they have from the last bylaws to this bylaws, they have a different role. Before, they were the only voting people. In this case, they represent all the coalitions in their region. And so when they come to the meetings, they represent all of those coalitions. They communicate for them. They share what is being done in the coalitions, and they really give a region-wide report, because we don't have quite time enough for every single coalition to speak at our meetings. Okay, let's scroll down to meetings, Chloe. The regular meetings, we are having those. It just basically says that twice a year, when we have meetings, when we have our trainings, that we'll try to have meetings at the same time. Special meetings can be called. Decision making, now this is something else that's changed, and you guys can also throw in your 2 bits. We don't have to go with this. It usually says that at least 35% or 33% of active members must constitute quorum, but we have a really hard time. We have such a diverse membership that comes, that the active members or the voting members are, it's hard to get a third at times. So it's brought it down to 25%. If you want to take it back to 33, I'm good with that. Just put that down in your note as feedback to give me. The voting, every coalition member will have a vote. Every active coalition member, this defined at the beginning, will have a vote. And also, if there's electronic voting, if we open something up to an electronic vote, we have a 48-hour window to get those votes back, so it doesn't drag on and on and on. So if something comes up that needs immediate voting, that we can't have a special meeting, we can't meet, but we're throwing out a vote, we have a 48-hour window to do that in. All right, the planning model. Now, this is something that is new, and I have found it in other DFC bylaws. And even after the DFC is in a community, a lot of times they will keep their planning model because it's so effective, and it really keeps coalition laser focused on what they're doing, the needs, the logic model, and all of it. So I put this down as our planning model, just because I did like the idea that was in some of the DFC's bylaws. Okay, let's go ahead and go down. And basically amendments, this can be amended at any meeting by a majority. And also the reporting, it just shows that reports should be available on our websites. We should have a yearly evaluation report and financial reports that are available on our website, so anybody is able to access those reports at any time. The use of the name, no one shall use the logo or name without authorization of the coalition. Any letters or endorsement or position shall be approved by the coalition before it's sent. And then the job descriptions are attached. And one thing that, this is kind of a new thing that is attached now to a lot of policies and procedures or bylaws, and it's a conflict resolution policy. I'd love your feedback on it. If you think it's too much and we don't need it, it's fine, but it's kind of a nice thing to also throw in the back of bylaws or a guideline, operational guidelines. So those are the updates that we have. And again, this is the coalition's bylaws. It's not my bylaws. So if you have concerns with it, if you don't like the way it reads, if there's something that's way off, here is your chance to take a look at it and let us know what things you agree with, what things you don't. We're going to put it out there for you for tonight. Please, sometime today or tonight, look over those bylaws and just email me or text me a quick question, or I agree or disagree with this. I'll make the changes that we need to. And at 3 o'clock tomorrow, we will give you kind of an updated version. And if that passes everybody's approval, we will go ahead and vote on it in the next month. Any questions? I know it covers a lot.
I just have a quick question. Having been on the board for a while now, so are we, in the past we've done, so we do the consent agenda now, but I've been wondering for the executive board, we don't meet as an executive board very often.
You know, the executive board in a lot of coalitions doesn't exist. It really is replaced with more of a steering committee than an executive board. And that's another thing to look at positions too, because I mean, we have basically the executive director, the secretary, the treasurer are all absorbed. Most of those duties are absorbed by our director and coordinator. So it really is something for us to ask, okay, what are the responsibilities of a secretary? Is it to fill in for the coordinator if she's not there to take notes? Is the treasurer supposed to be looking over all of those financial things? So I'd love your feedback on what those positions look like.
Yeah, so on
the case of a grant, you know, a grant like this, it's run by the coalition.
Yeah, I know I can just share that I mean, I don't know what the right answer is, but the Valley County Opioid Response Project, VCOR, that YAC is part of that consortium here in Valley County. And so we have a steering committee on that one, which is interesting. So we have a project coordinator through Central District Health who does all the, kind of like what Chloe does. But then we have a steering committee. One is representing prevention, one is treatment, and one is representing recovery. So anyways, I'm just curious. And then I think we had there's one person that is just a general person, somebody who's on the consortium. But I was just curious about what the difference was.
Yeah, I like that idea too. I like that setup.
I like the way that we do it with MADC, because I know that the sector reps make up the executive side of the coalition, and we meet quarterly, and then we still have those months where we have the executive meeting. We also have the general membership meeting directly afterwards. So there's you do have 4 extra meetings a year, but that is when you deal with any kind of decisions that need to be made on an executive level. And then we present the decisions that what was brought up at the executive meeting to the general membership for a final stamp of approval. But that's kind of where you can weed out some of the more businessy side of that. We weed out more of the businessy side of what the coalition's doing. So there's a lot of different ways you could do it. I was wondering, Sharon,
and sometimes that's called executive committee. Sometimes it's called a steering committee. It kind of varies from coalition to coalition.
I was wondering, Sharon, when you sent it to us during race training, I didn't have a chance to go through it because I was doing a few other things on the side. But would it be? I was wondering if it would be beneficial to have me and Chloe and Jim kind of go over it too and make sure that kind of give our 2 cents on what we think. I wouldn't be able to do it before tomorrow, but sometime before the next meeting, I could set up the November meeting, I could set up a meeting with staff and we could kind of go over it and go through it too and kind of give staff input. Do you think that would be okay?
Sure. We will. Yeah, I'd like to get as much as I could by tomorrow, just because we've been working on this for a year. So as much as we could get back by tomorrow would be helpful. But if you need a little more time, maybe just talk about it and see how long that would take.
Okay.
It's a good idea.
So anyway, please send me your emails, texts, and especially those that have organizations other than ours and you have more exposure to this stuff, would love your input.
Thank you, Sharon. It's a lot of work.
It takes longer than you think. Or you've been through it several times.
Okay, so thank you for that, Sharon. Thank you for everybody for the committees. These committees were formed in McCall when we had our first strategic planning session. And it's kind of nice to see these committees, what they've kind of morphed into, grown. And those of you who stepped up into roles, even when you said you were too busy too. So really appreciate it. So now let's go to region updates. And we don't have anyone in Region 1. If anyone in here is in Region 1 and knows somebody who would like to step into that Region 1 opportunity, please let us know. We still have Charlene as our Region 2 rep. I'm not quite sure that she's going to be our Region 2 rep anymore. Is that correct, Sharon?
I don't know. She hasn't indicated to me.
Just in case if Charlene can't fulfill that responsibility with her new responsibilities that she's taken on, let me know if anyone's interested. Jerry, do you have anything for Region 3? I see you're still there, hanging on with us.
Just real quickly, our coalition has been meeting and we're working with the Caldwell Police Department to have our drug take back day, October 23rd. And then our coalition is hosting a suicide prevention training on October 28th from 11 to 1. If you want more information on that, I can get it to you. And then we're also, our goal is to do something every quarter, and we've been feeling pretty good about that, but we're in the process of lining Jermaine Galloway out now for next October, I believe, to do a scan of our community, Canyon County, and then do a presentation for us. So that's about it for now.
And one more thing that CCI has been trying to assist with in Region 3 is helping Tara with creating another coalition in that area. We'll get to that to the PFS. I'm sure she can expand on that when the PFS coordinators give us their update. But
yeah, that'd be a great idea. Tara's been amazing. She's been meeting with us, and I'm on the behavioral health board for the region, and she just did a little presentation to them. So I'm so happy to have her jumping in, even though she's new. She's got such amazing information and enthusiasm to get us all rejuvenated again and get moving on for our new fiscal year. So thanks to Tara.
awesome. All right, now I'm confused. Sylvia, are you still the Region 4 rep, or are we passing that on to Shannon?
I think that it would be better if it was Shannon, if she doesn't mind. Just because she's going to be more in the know.
You want to give us an update on Region 4, Shannon?
We did the recovery rally with The Rock on September 18th for about an hour and a half, maybe before we got rained out. A storm moved in because we were outside. We've been doing the farmers markets still, which is going really well. I finally do have a group down in New Meadows, and they're meeting with Cascade this week, so we can get them all caught up to date to start a Planet Youth group down there. And then I had some BSU students who are non-traditional students who live in the area between Council and Cascade. There's 5 of them, and one of them came in the other day wanting to help me start a youth leadership team here. So they're doing it for school and they get credit for it, and they want to host some rallies and stuff like that. So, and then we did end up having to postpone our youth and family, which was going to start tomorrow night, Tuesday nights, all of October. But we're going to postpone that until our COVID numbers are not so high in Valley County.
Do you have anything to add, Kendall? I know that Region 4 has a massive population down in the Boise area.
Just as far as MADC, we did have Public Safety Day that got canceled. That was an in-person event that we have done annually. So that's canceled this year. We are proceeding with Red Ribbon Week and supplying resources to West Ada School District. We've got 25 or 30 requests from them. I tallied up the bracelets they were requesting. It was close to 20,000. So getting some information out there, although it's not in person like we would have hoped. And then the prescription take back, we're also planning with Republic Services. I think that's pretty much the high level, just speaking in terms of MADC.
You did have a pretty successful recovery day, which was pretty neat, and a neat collaboration between you, ODP, and Human Being, right?
That's correct. We had our recovery day breakfast. Mayor Simison was there, 3 of our 6 city council members, and then also former Mayor Tammy DeVeard. And lots of collaboration, like David said, lots of coalition members that were involved in that to spread that collaboration, enhance that event. And then also David reaching out to Maggie O'Mara, covered it on her social media. So lots of outreach there, which that was great.
And you also have an upcoming interview with CADCA to have it highlighted.
Oh gosh, yeah, I forgot that too. I'm discombobulated. I'm from home, but not because of COVID. We have a remodel going on at the PD, so I got stuff everywhere, and that is representative of my mind. Yeah. Wait, what was it? What are we talking about now?
CADCA is going to highlight.
Yeah, I can't remember what. That's not today. I'll be more organized. That's coming up this week. We'll do a half-an-hour interview with them as well.
Yeah. So what we did is we've been the things that you guys do. If you're sharing them with us, if we're able to catch it. We are sharing out. We found out that if we tag CADCA on our Instagram account, that they are sharing it to their stories. And that's how we got Maggie O'Mara and CADCA to want to do stuff on, they want to do stuff on the date trailer up in North Idaho. They were interested in what Kendall and MADC did with the recovery day. So we are trying to make sure we get you guys, get your guys' wins out there so we can get as much coverage for them as possible. So Region 5, I believe that's Mary Ann, isn't that, Chloe?
Yep.
Mary Ann.
That's me. We have bits and parts of things going on, but our biggest challenge just occurred last week in that the group that was running our prescription drug take back day event in Twin Falls didn't let anybody know that they had just decided that since one of their group was having a wedding and they were all going to go to it on that day, they decided that they wouldn't do the event, but they didn't let anybody know. And when my colleague that does the drug overdose prevention program called them to find out if they needed any assistance in promotion activities. That's how we found out that they're not going to be doing anything. We tried, between DOP and we tried really hard to get somebody to take it over, but neither one of us are allowed, with the grants that we work with, we're not allowed to organize and run those events ourselves. So we tried to find an organization or group that would do it. And everybody came back with, well, now we don't have enough time to get organized. So we'll help with April. So all of a sudden our drug take back days kind of fallen apart. Not sure about some of the other people. We had one more small group that we were trying to get them to take it on. They've not responded. So we've kind of figured that it's just simply not going to happen this month. If we'd had more of a notice that the group that had run it last time was not planning to run it this time, we might have been able to find alternatives. So it's possible at this date that there may not be any drug take back events that occur in District 5 at all, which is kind of disconcerting and disappointing. Other than that, there's just what I'm doing as the PFS coordinator.
Okay. We don't have 6, 7. Both of you guys are here. So do you guys want to tag team this update, Sharon and Marco?
Yeah, Mario can take it away.
Oh, sorry. I wrote some notes here. So there's a lot going on in our region. We just did the Recovery Festival. Several people were part of that. We are helping with creating some stuff for Rigby. They are asking and begging, and they've had a lot of really rough weeks recently. So they have a lot of youth needs. And so we're kind of mentoring them and hoping to help them get block grant funding to do some prevention programming. So we're in the process of helping, start, and some of their people are on our sector reps. So they kind of want to duplicate some of the work we do here in Rigby, which is nice that we'll be able to expand. We are putting together a mobile parent education trailer that will be, it's kind of like what Tall Cops Says Stop does, or Jermaine Galloway, but it's more of a mobile unit that will be a actual pull trailer. You walk in one door and you'll see the bedroom. It'll be a bedroom simulation of teens, and there'll be all these scenarios and things that we could teach and educate parents on to be looking for the drug use and vaping and all the different substances for their youth. And then they'll exit out the other door so that we can control the traffic and only have parents in there and not teens. When we were doing our units at the school, setting them up, it was hard to keep kids away. And this way we can control that. And we're going to have it this trailer wrapped, and it'll be available to people throughout our region. And maybe eventually, if we need to do some stuff at state events, we can pull it and do that as well. So we got some funding to do that, and we're excited to be building that in the next few months. That's something we're doing ourselves. Then I know that the BYDC does the things related to drug takebacks and those events. We don't do that at SIA, but we're also more than happy to help wherever we need to. We have things, we're going to be going and doing some Red Ribbon Week activities in our region. So all the schools that are interested are going to have us do some assemblies with the teams where they can do some skits. We're performing our turnaround skit, and then another one called Reach to Drugs, which has been around a long, long time. It's famous. And another one Idaho created at Idafy called Don't Be a Dummy. So that we're going to perform those skits in schools, and then we have a panel of teen youth that will just be able to talk to the younger schools and get them interested in prevention work in the schools. This year, there seems to be more interest in bringing back some of those Red Ribbon Week activities that had been lost in the past. We're going to be buying swag and giving out red ribbons just to kind of get that message out there, talk about the history of Red Ribbon Week and why we do drug prevention and utilize that. And then we're also partnering with some of our other communities. I think, Rose, we're talking about coming and doing some stuff in Chalice with your teens for our region. And on the 15th this month, there's some kids from Minico coming to visit us so they can learn some more about what they can do in their community prevention wise. And we have a day of prevention activity set up for those kids. So every day there's something in our center now where we expanded to 11-year-olds because we knew in our region that the kids were starting to vape at a younger age. So this year we expanded to 11 and up, and we offered programming for different groups of kids. That way they can get more interventions early, and we can get that information out there and have new teams with high schoolers mentoring the middle schoolers a little bit more. And so it's becoming a bigger, more popular thing for our area. And that's what I have. Let me see if there's anything else I missed. I think that's all I had currently. I'll start paying attention to more what other coalitions are doing and reaching out to them so I can give a better report and know kind of what they're doing regionally, because I haven't had a chance to connect with Sharon or Rose recently. So hope to do that more often in the near future.
Thanks, Mark. I think one of the things we're going to do too is maybe try to send an email a week before the meeting and connect those coalitions in that region and get you guys to get them to give you a report so that you can have more of what's going on. But it's good to hear what you guys are doing. You guys are a busy coalition. So okay, I think that's the do you have anything to add, Sharon, or can we move on?
Now, just if any of you have a chance to get David Gomez, he has some really great information about social media, things parents don't know. Our parents are very shocked, and some of the anyway, most of the adults were shocked. The kids knew exactly what he was talking about. You have to, if you bring him in, you have to be willing to hear a lot about naked bodies, naked pictures, because he focuses a lot about what's going on and how prevalent those pictures are right now being sent out. Our youth are working on a video for Red Ribbon Week where youth chooses the wrong thing and then it shows it in reverse, coming back and then choosing the right thing. Since we're kind of doing social norms, we want it to have a positive picture at the end of that. And so anyway, we just have the individual things going on in our smaller schools, but it's all up and running.
Awesome. So next, PFS coordinators is Amy is. Hi, Amy.
Hello, it was so fun listening to what everyone's doing, and I want to thank everyone for their work around the state. It was great to listen to help me give a brief update. But with the PFS grant in Region 1 this past month, we've really been focusing again on our strengthening families. We just had a training and had more facilitators trained, and we have been working with a couple of organizations, one of our tribes, as well as a school district who are implementing that. And so right now we do have strengthening families that will be held in 3 of our 5 counties, and looks as though they will, and we're helping organizations be able to be sustainable with that, but it's really quite exciting. So in the Sandpoint area and in Bonner County and Benoit, and then here in Kootenai County, there was a session that was just started here by my colleague Karen Kershaw, which was held at our health district and was held in person. And I was able to attend that last one and just really excited about the work they're doing, and that's helping with some needs here in the community. As far as some things going on in our community with prevention, the Kootenai County Substance Abuse Coalition, they are holding a presentation focused on fentanyl signs of use and dangers on October 22nd. And they will be having one of the drug recognition experts local here with the Idaho State Patrol presenting at that. There was a recovery rally held here September 18th. It was their first recovery rally for the Kootenai Recovery Community Center. And they did an outstanding job because they were all ready to go outside, and then they had, because of weather, they had to move inside. And then because of COVID regulations, they were just had to adapt to that so that they had a smaller group, and that was virtual, but that was held September 18th. The Drug Take Back Day on October 23rd, we're coordinating with local law enforcement here with the health district regionally. Last time we were able to do some advertising for them or for all the different sites. So we're connecting with them. And then if they're interested in some other resources with medication disposal bags or lock boxes, getting those to them. Another great project, and as I share this, some of my colleagues in our regional behavioral health board have been working on, but I don't know that you'll be able to see this card, but I could send, it's kind of going in the background, send a link. They've had a Call Me campaign going on, which is on the card I have. They've worked with 5 individuals in the community, but it says, don't call me dirty. It says, call me mentor, employed, person who experienced homelessness. And then really looking at changing a language, change a life. And so there are terms of what has been used and what can be then used as some different things. And there also is a resource guide that goes with that, and a documentary that's is underway right now. And so that is one exciting thing coming from our region. And I took notes as everyone was talking. It made me think of other good things coming along. I think that is all right now. I know our prescription opioid solutions group, it sounds like they're similar to the Valley County group as far as looking at opioid prevention. They have different work groups moving forward on a variety of topics. And so those are some of the things that are rolling along in Region 1. So I'll turn that back to you, David.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you for the referral you gave us on the graphics contractor as well. So Region 2, that's Charlene, and she's not here. I know she's the PFS coordinator. Region 3 is Tara. Are you still here, Tara? Oh, cool.
Hey, everybody. So in Region 3 for PFS work, we just had a first round of soliciting for subgrant applications for PFS projects, so looking to train people to implement some evidence-based curriculums or, sorry, brain is spacing. For a few different projects, we closed that first round about a week ago and have 3 or 4 applications that are we're probably going to be funding, but we will be continuing to accept applications for projects related to youth substance use on a rolling basis until we don't have any more funds for that. So we've been working on that, excited about that. We are partnering with 2C Drug Free Coalition and the Mayor's Youth Activation Advisory Council of Caldwell to host a sticker shock campaign event. So we'll be getting the materials from the Office of Drug Policy that they'll be putting out for their annual sticker shock campaign, and we'll be doing that with the youth group here in Caldwell. And we will have a drug recognition expert there to speak to the youth about the risk associated with underage substance use. And then what David alluded to earlier was that this is a little bit separate than from my PFS work, but still very much related. At Southwest District Health, our community health team has community health action teams in each of the counties that we serve. And so Adams County is one of the only counties that at this time does not have a coalition. And so I am working on starting a health coalition up there. My role would be merely to facilitate and support. The goal is for each community to identify their health priorities, and then for the coalition to be kind of a connection for all of those folks in that region to work together on those identified priorities. So working to start that up there. And I think those are the big things.
Awesome.
Where was that again, Tara?
Adams County.
In Adams. Thank you.
Thank you, Tara. Thank you for all the work you've done to support coalitions in Region 3. I really appreciate it. You make my job a lot easier. Region 4, Rebecca.
Yeah, that's me. Thanks. Similar to Tara, we have also solicited solicited is not even a word, but I just made it up, solicited applications for funding for mini grants and scholarships. The mini grants are good for curriculum implementation or environmental projects like the lock boxes or the pouches. And then the scholarships are for professional development. So any sort of conference somebody might want to go to that's in the prevention realm. We're accepting those on a rolling basis, and I just review them once a month until the funds are expended. Grand total, we have about $17,500 in that pot. So it's just sort of being delegated wherever it comes as demand is. I have given out 2 scholarships to professional development already, and I'm in the process of working with someone in Valley County for a curriculum implementation. So that's good. And then 2 activities coming up for October. Our parenting class is starting next week. We're implementing positive action. I'm doing that with the help of a public health grad student at BSU. Her name's Heather, and she's fantastic. So she's going to be teaching the class virtually for us. We sent out the marketing materials, and within 3 days, the class was full, and we already have half of the spring session full as well. So we have a wait list, and we're planning on having one in April. So that's great. I'll be shipping the materials to all those participants today, and they'll have those ready to go for next week. And we have 3 of our 4 counties represented for attendees in that class, which is also great. And then mental health first aid and youth mental health first aid. I've scheduled 4 sessions, 2 of each. The first one will be an adult one on October 22nd. That's in collaboration with Optum. They're sponsoring that, and we're just sort of helping to facilitate. But they'll go all the way through the spring. So like I said, 2 mental health and 2 youth mental health first aids set up, and I've already sent marketing materials out for that as well. Limited seating, I think they only host up to 15 seats per session. So that's it for here.
Awesome. Thank you, Rebecca. And those mental health first aid trainings are amazing. As Chloe and I both sat through the one at Lapway, and that was amazing. So it's good you're offering that. Marianne, you're up again.
Okay, again. Yes, the parts that we're working on actively right now is we're doing a CSI, College of Southern Idaho, social norms and social marketing campaign. Where we're at right now is they are doing student surveys that should go for about another through next week. And then I will compile that information and complete the social norms part. They're putting things out like I'm helping them by creating various tabletop signs, slides that go on a television loop that is in several different parts of the college. Let's see, what else? We're doing a monthly flyer to give to the students, particularly those students that are considered part of the residence hall group, which that's over 230 people just in the residence hall. We have 3 groups currently signed up to start the positive action parenting groups. We in this district, I'll be covering their training, and then they are going to take on offering the positive action family classes at the new Lincoln County Youth Center, at the Proactive Behavioral Health Center. They work with a lot of lower income families. And then also at the Snake River Juvenile Detention or Probation Center, they are wanting to run one. I have a few other people that are trying to get more information. Their little director committees and stuff like that are trying to decide if they want to go that direction. I also have several different groups that are going to be starting to implement the life skills, Botvin life skills training program. And we are offering some scholarships or sponsorships, whichever way you want to look at that, so that people will be able to consider using life skills training programs without worrying about how they're going to get all the materials. So we are providing the materials for several different groups to start their programs. One program or one place is Murtaugh Junior High. And they have reported that they are already seeing a significant difference in attitudes with some of the kids. So that's pretty exciting. Let's see, what else are we doing? Rebecca didn't mention it, but several of the PFS districts, and now Charlene is looking at getting it to where all of the PFS groups are offering the Outlast Idaho campaign, which is geared towards teens specifically. So anybody that's interested in checking that out, you can look at Outlast Idaho. There's a Facebook page, but there's not much on that one. It's more Instagram and some other things. We just received a report on what the first phase of that produced, and it seemed to make a difference in the counties, in my counties. In some of the other districts that were doing it, they saw a significant amount of teens that were connecting to that link. So that was kind of exciting to see. And let's see, I'm still handing out THC testing strips to junior highs and high schools in my area, and they are utilizing those. So that's kind of nice. And the only other thing I think that is going on is, let's see, I know I'm forgetting something. Oh, I am doing cartvertising, which is the advertising you see in your shopping cart at a grocery store. And we are having a lot of people are using the QR code that I included on that to go to our website and find out more information about the teen brain, about how the teen brain works when they're using alcohol or other substances. So it's encouraging to see that that outreach is starting to make some difference. People are looking for more information.
Awesome. Well, you guys all the PFS corners are doing a lot, and I'm glad you guys are out there filling in those gaps in the prevention space. Okay, so we got that. We're going to save the beg, borrow, and steal. We're going to do that tomorrow after our last training before we jump into the survey. So what we want you guys to do, those of you who are interested, is make sure you're at the workshop tomorrow, which is the final day of our conference, because we want you to come with what you're doing for the October drug take back, what you're doing for Red Ribbon Week, and what you're doing for Halloween. We want to see what those 3 activities look like for October. And if somebody is interested in what you're doing, they're going to ask you to explain it to them or give them more information, plug it in, because it's one of the things that we talked about earlier is we want our bigger coalitions to help support our smaller coalitions that may be struggling, giving them something to do. It's something that is on the agenda. Before we take a motion to adjourn, is do want to remind everybody that the deadline for the liquor grants is coming up at the end of October, and we will have a grant writing workshop, because we do have things like the block grant coming up at the end of the year, and it's the holidays, so the year is going to wrap up super fast. So don't forget about that opportunity. And then also the grants that may not have the word prevention in them, but things you could do to do prevention funding, like the wildlife license plate campaign that Debbie Evans talked about in the last grant writing workshop that we did. So we did do a podcast interview with Katie Wiseman from the liquor division that will be going up this week. So you get a chance to hear some in and outs about how what they're looking for with that grant and how you can be more successful. And that's all I have for the agenda, I'll pass it off back to Sharon.
All right, with that, I think we're ready to adjourn and go get some lunch and then meet back at 1:30, right?
Yes, 1:30 back at the original link for the conference.
All right, can we have a motion for adjournment?
There's leaving. No.
You just want to
I'll motion for adjournment.
Thank you, Martha.
A second?
I'll second. This is Kendall.
Yay. Thank you.
All in
guys.
favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, we'll see you at 1:30.
Thanks, everybody.